my knees and do it to you, you're going to have to give me that 20 quid back.
It's only my mom who's gonna hear that. Hi, Mom. How the hell are you? I can't find. Oh, yes, who I'm following. There we go. There we are. Haha.
Oh,
Speakeasy.
Speakeasy. Here's the Speakeasies, my dude.
My favorites.
We had a comment on at least one of the Speakeasies recently. Like, these are the best ones. You need to do more of these.
Yeah, I saw that.
But like, they just don't. Do you know what the lowest numbers are?
Our speakeasies.
Speakeasies and
Book clubs.
Collect Item Special.
That's weird. Especially because like Xander Cannon is an award-winning creator. It's not like he's an unknown entity in the industry, you know?
No.
Or even Brian Hitch. Like that was a really cool episode. It had nothing to do with the quality of the chat, nothing. Promotion. It's just I think it's this weird algorithm thing and
sometimes it's the titling. That's why, like, for the graphics, I've changed the graphics to make it more about the guest than the episode bracket. But even then, it's still not really changing. So, like, for Speakeasies, I will put Speakeasy on it, but I don't make it the primary name of the episode.
Yeah, there is a very strange pattern, science, all these different things that successful YouTubers have said. Like that was a whole game in and of itself, trying to figure out what works. Oh, when we put our face on it, it works more than when we put a cool cartoon character.
Yeah.
For some reason, when you put it at this time, I don't know.
A lot of it's about when you do it, but I had so much going on the week that I did the Xander Cannon edit that when I was posting it, like I couldn't get to post it on the day we normally post, so it was a day late. And I think that affected it as well.
Yeah, all those little things. But can you do?
I'm not YouTube's bitch.
No, and this isn't something that is. It's not where we're making our living. Where it's like, make sure it comes out on that day. We got a deadline. Yeah. Like it's not the case. This is for our enjoyment and having fun with our friends.
Exactly.
Right.
We haven't got anyone on yet. Sorry, were you going to say something?
No, I just said I'm excited for today's chat.
Me too. I don't know where we're going to go.
Right?
So it's fun to try something slightly different.
We got one.
Hello. We got two.
We got the one. And
three.
Our regulars,
we got
the
the
usual
scrubs,
suspects.
The bread and the man. He the man. How you
doing?
Going
on, gentlemen?
Beyond Unlimited. Hello.
Hey, how's it going? Have you been with us before? Or is this the first time? Hello, Beyond Unlimited.
That's nice, sweet.
Yes, very good. Should we thanks, Omega. Well, I think the help that you guys have done just sharing it and spreading the word makes a difference. I think it's just hard. It's just hard enough to get to 1,000. It's and if you look at some of the really big podcasts in this niche of genre that we do, there's not that many that are huge. And the ones that have been doing it for a very, very, very long time and have some sort of in with the big two now.
Yeah.
But some of the really, really good comic book podcasts, they're at 5,000 viewers, you know, and Dave's, your edits and like the presentation of it, it's a nice show once it's gone on YouTube.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's a very watchable show. Some of the other ones are just people doing a chat. No
frills.
No frills. And that works. But again, they're not hitting big numbers either. So I think it's a niche thing. We'll get there.
Yeah. I'm not too worried about numbers, frankly. It's not.
We'll get there.
Don't care. Instagram's going to change well soon. Apparently, they're going to take all their notes off everything. And like my Instagram lives. I mean, my Instagram being like when I started it, you know, it lived and died on the notes. People were kind of going, I like that you include all the information. No, you're not supposed to. So like now the Omniverse one, as it is just basically going to have to be here's a picture of something. with no context.
That's weird.
So I don't know what they're doing. I don't think they know what they're doing.
Yeah, we're going through a weird time.
Yeah. Oh, excuse me. I do apologise. Oh, let me tilt my camera a little bit. Top of the head's coming off. Oh, you can see my... Oh, look at that. I love that. Hello, Beyond Unlimited. Apologies
in advance. Yes. If you're easily offended, we blame Omega.
Yeah.
Shall we get the show going?
I think we should.
Do we have a mailbag this week?
No.
Okay, just a commercial break.
If we fit a commercial break in, I do have one ready.
Oh yeah, we don't have. It's not our usual.
We don't.
Halfway
but
point.
There's no reason why we can't. Or maybe we do it at the end or the beginning. Or I could do it. It's just it's old to the Omniverse. So it's the top 5 most read posts, most popular posts.
We'll do it at the end. Do a countdown at the end.
All right.
Yeah. Cool. Alrighty, let's get into it, ladies and gents. Do our countdown. 4, 3, 2, 1, and... boom. Welcome back, everybody, to the Omniverse Comics Guide podcast. We are your Omniverse Comics guys. I'm Eric. That's my pal Dave.
Well,
Dave,
hello.
How the hell are you?
I am hell, sir. How about you?
You make hell look so good. You make hell look heavenly. How about that?
Stop you big tart.
Everybody that's with us.
I wish I could return the compliment.
Especially after I take the glasses off. I'm not as cute, right?
Have you seen Eric? He was here just now.
Right? Where'd he go? Everybody who's with us watching on Twitch live, we appreciate it. This is the uncut version for you guys. Anything goes. Enjoy the show. For those that are with us on YouTube, thank you for joining us. Hit that rate and subscribe button, a thumbs up, share the show. We appreciate that. And on all your different podcast platforms, give us a subscribe. We're almost at 900 subscribers on YouTube. Mm-hmm. Might not seem like a big deal to you, but it's a big deal. Be the 900th. It'd be awesome.
I like it.
And of course, most importantly, visit us at omniversecomics.guide. That's the central hub of where everything is that you need for our podcast, collector item specials, our reading orders that Dave puts together meticulously. And for today's topic on our Speakeasy that we're going to, go through generally, but we're going to, broad strokes about the Crisis on Infinite Earths. Do we have a reading order for it?
No, not yet, but the reading order is coming very, very soon. So basically for the last 3 months, 2.5, 3 months, I've been reading Crisis on and off between other things, and putting it all in order. Because, of course, there's tons of tie-ins, tons of really little tie-ins as well, like the Red Skies stuff, where it's just that the skies are red, mate, like sheep dip in the morning, global warming. No, that's the wrong phrase. Anyway, yeah, there's some really, really random things. Some are really relevant, some are not. So I'm putting something together that's, most people will know the 12-issue series, the maxi series. Most people haven't read the tie-ins, at least that weren't around at the time. So
I haven't read the tie-ins.
This is going to put it all together and explain what you should be reading alongside and what you can skip.
That's awesome. I got to say, that's pretty awesome because I forgot to do something. Can I come back in 1 second? Do you mind? You edit this? 1 second, everybody. Just remember.
I'm going to stare at the screen awkwardly now until someone breaks. Yes, Beyond Comics. Yes, so I didn't piece it together. I'm such a doof. Thanks so much for jumping on and watching, dude. It's great to have you. Yeah, it's a big job. I'm writing it as I read as well, so it makes reading it take that much longer. Trying to chop, because of course the page breaks be in there, and they'll put it all in order, and that's a lot of working out, and some of it doesn't quite make sense, and some of it takes place in different time periods as well. So it's a tricky
apologies, everybody. That is what the edits are for. And Beyond Unlimited has joined us many times on YouTube. He's a friend of ours, Dave in the Omniverse.
Yes,
so he knows the antics.
He knows the antics.
Okay, let's find a way to cut this and edit it. Okay.
What did we say just now?
Where did we leave off? Oh, yes, the reading order of what we were talking about.
So it's coming, yeah.
Yes, the reading order is coming, and you were just saying how it's going to be done in a way where you know what to skip and what to stick with, because this is a very, very vast. Apparently, I never read all the companion issues, and they've put out hardcovers, volume 1 and 2.
3.
Show us, Dave.
Here we go. 3 volumes in deluxe format of all the crossovers. Well, most of the crossovers. Some of them aren't here because I've found some stuff as well that isn't often included. As that one, yeah, and that's also going to be in there. So it's going to be super, super comprehensive. Super. There's the super guy himself. Super comprehensive. And if you do manage to find these, lucky you. But they all fit together with the deluxe version. So that's what the set looks like together.
I mean, I know we're co-hosts on this podcast, but I don't know how you put something like that together, dude. Where do you begin?
Do you know what this is? Because I tried to read Crisis in my early 20s, and I got to issue 10, and I just couldn't do it anymore. And then I didn't know what the hell was going on. I didn't know who most of the characters were. It wasn't a fun read. It was a chore. And then I tried to read it again in my late 20s, and I got to issue 11 and gave up. And then when I started reading more DC, I read it again with a lot of the tie-ins, but not all. Now I'm giving it a full read through, and I'm giving it the Omniverse treatment. I'm loving it. Oh, was that you or me? Dooloop.
I think that was me, and I don't know why. Anyway, I don't know why.
Yeah, I'm absolutely loving it. It's been a weirdly fun experience, even when some of it's quite a difficult read, because some of the tie-ins I'm just going like, seriously, why are there 8 tie-ins from this series that I'm just not liking? But it's a fun challenge, basically. And the main title's actually, I've started to really quite like it. You all right?
I'm good. I just needed to send a message to my wife.
Oh, okay. All right.
It's all good. Something happened. I had a notice on my computer right now that connected the computer to her phone. It's still connected? No, it's not. Okay. It's some computer connection to the iPhone. It's messing everything up.
The Apple connection thing. Everything I've got talks to each other, so I have to turn it all off. Let me do that.
There you go. And then my computer went dark, and then your face went dark. Oh, okay. Sorry for the edits, Dave.
That's all right.
That's fun.
Gives me something to do.
You're good at it. Yeah. Along with the reading orders. Anywho, this series, where do you begin reading the Crisis as just to read it? Do you start with issue 1 of the main series, and then it branches off like they're known to? Mostly.
And the thing is, there are, like with most of the reading orders I do, sometimes there are bits that subtly tie in that are optional. So, hang on a minute. I wasn't ready for that question.
It's okay. I wasn't ready to ask it. I just thought of it on the spot.
Well, there are a couple of issues of DC Comics Presents that happen first, but they're really, really subtle touches. Like one of them, the Monitor's hand appears, and he says he's going to go and visit Earth 3, and then that leads into Crisis on Infinite Earths number 1. But it's not essential, you know? So I think, like, for the most part, a lot of the tie-ins aren't essential. There are only a handful that I'm going to recommend that are. Like, one of the first ones is there's an issue of Firestorm that just makes it all make a bit more sense if you read it. But that slots between the pages of issue 1. And that's the thing with a lot of these. Some of them take place over the course of several issues of Crisis, which makes doing a reading order particularly hard.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's going to have in between a Crisis issue, because these issues also, before we even get into it, they're a little bit longer than your average 21-page issue that was coming out at the time.
Some
right?
are giant size, some are 24-page, and some are
like
30, 40 pages.
And they're very dense. Whatever the issue you get, it takes you a little bit of time to get through it, because there's a lot of panels, there's a lot of dialogue, and there's a lot to look at. Within those small panels, there's a ton of things to look for.
Loads. So yeah, that's the thing. When I write my overviews, I try and keep it to the most succinct, most important bits of information. Because I mean, there's one issue that starts off with a caveman character called Arak, and I never thought anything of it. And only until the 4th read through that I'm doing now that I've realised he had his own series, and he was he's a DC character. He's a character. He's not a major character, but he had his own title. And kind
of like a Kazar.
Yeah, I think he's kind of like a prehistoric Khazar.
Got you.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I've only read that just a little bit around it. So the more I'm reading it and the more I'm investigating it, the more I'm realizing how I'm finding out more and more about stuff I didn't know before.
Mm. Right. Okay. All right, let's get into the nitty gritty of it before we begin. Send you a
Okay.
cheers for
Ooh,
the
cheers, my
speakeasies.
dude.
International cheers. Clink. There you go.
Oh, that was a big
Spilled some
swallow.
on my spell.
On your spell?
Yeah.
Have
Yeah,
you, have
I
you had
spilled a
6
little on
before
myself.
this?
No, not yet. Um, so I'm gonna start at the end and ask the
Okay.
question: where does this rank in Maxi Series crossovers for you?
For me, a little higher than it did before, but I don't adore it. It's probably still a 3-star thing for me. I've had fun reading it,
Hmm.
but I don't rate it that highly. Partly because I find it's not a very accessible read. It's like they've taken all the toys and they're playing with all of them for you.
Hmm.
Which is nice.
Yes.
But if
Yes.
you're new to this stuff, you're probably going to struggle. And I wouldn't start with Crisis. So even when I started doing my DC read through, I started with Crisis. But a lot of these characters and their histories are completely different from the histories you end up with afterwards,
Right.
because that was the whole point. It was a chance to restart their universe. So it's not the best place to start reading DC. If you want to read DC in that golden, I mean, what I would consider to be an actual golden age of DC, which is 87 to 2011, the universe that most people think is like the DC universe.
Yes.
You start with your Man of Steel and Year One Batman and all that kind of stuff. Don't start with Crisis because it's not relevant. It's probably better to read Crisis and treat yourself to it a bit later when you've started to understand the relevance of some things.
That's an interesting take. We've talked about it plenty of times in our pods where we give a little bit of context about Crisis in the timeline of like understanding DC continuity, because I feel like it is how you feel about it as far as a story goes and where it ranks. That could be very subjective, which is
Yeah,
of course the fun of this. I think as far as the impact goes
yeah,
of this, I think it might be in the top 2 of all time
yeah,
crossover events.
easily.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
in
there's
terms of impact, it's huge.
yeah, impact wise, and if you want to read something that has a definite impact on a comic book universe, a comic book company, and the comic book industry, this is the place to, if you're looking for that. Why, and how come? There's really, I think in comic talk, specifically DC, but just in general, there's a pre-crisis era and there's a post-crisis era.
Yeah,
And even though the DC universe has changed and there's been new 52s and rebirths and stuff like that, it's still very much a post-crisis era
yeah.
that we're in
More
in a
so
lot of
now
ways.
again because they've pretty much said that all the stuff that happened before the New 52 did happen.
Right.
So
Exactly.
it's back. All this stuff is back. But the thing is, they kind of had one before Crisis anyway, because at some unofficial point, in the Silver Age, they started to shift the continuity a bit. So like in the mid 50s up to around the 60s, they shifted it a bit, and we had a different Superman with different elements to his origins and all sorts.
Yes.
So then the original Superman was then considered Earth 2 Superman. And all those characters, the Golden Age characters, are all based on Earth 2, even though they came first. And then the main
Right.
continuity was Earth 1. But that's why Crisis came about, because I think they pretty much thought, this is too confusing. We've got Batman in this
Yes.
series and Superman in this series, but he's old in that and he's young here, and isn't this confusing? Whereas now, that would be your ultimate universe,
Exactly.
All they
Yes.
needed to do was brand it and label it properly, and you go, oh, this is Earth 1, okay.
Yeah.
But they
And
didn't.
and I think a part of that confusion was because DC was always, there was that divide between DC and Marvel, that this is a universe that is younger. It's moving in the stream, like they were doing their best to move it in the stream of time along with the years that it existed. So
Yeah.
like you grew with Peter Parker until he got to university, and then suddenly time slowed down a little bit, but you're still watching this guy age and get married, and things are happening like that, all within a continuity. DC was, like you said, restarting. Here's this version, here's that version, and they never really sunk their feet into like, here's what's happening in the mythology, where these other universes exist, but it was never really clear. And this cleaned it up.
It did. And one of the other weird things about it as well is because you had stuff like All-Star Squadron, which focused on the Golden Age characters and was set in the 40s.
Yeah.
On Earth 2. But you also had Infinity Inc., which was set in the present day on Earth 2, with those characters who are older plus their legacy characters. Like, I was figuring this out as I was reading it this time around. And I can understand why people got confused. But yeah, the idea was to take all this stuff, smash it all together, have all these characters interact with each other with a major threat. And by the end of it, we'd have a refreshed, restarted DC Universe. One problem was that even though we got new books for Wonder Woman, we got a relaunched Superman series with new continuity, Batman's numbering changed, but he was still, but it was a new Batman. Even Jason Todd completely changed. His origin was different in post-crisis. But some titles just carried on. New Teen Titans carried on as it was. Green Lantern carried on as it was. So just as they did with the New 52, a couple of books kind of went, yeah, we know this has happened, but we're just going to keep plodding forward. They did the same thing during Crisis. So that's why there's a bit of a confusing period from in 1986 where the restart hadn't happened yet. So even after the Crisis, Earth 1 and Earth 2 characters are still moving about and doing their thing. Because we haven't got to that, what people would refer to now, I guess, as a reboot.
Right.
They hadn't hit that stage yet. So it wasn't planned meticulously to that point, because the relaunches of all those books should have happened after Crisis. And they didn't. It took about another 9 months.
Right. Yeah, it did take time for it to all unfold into new universes. Yeah, it's true. And there wasn't like an immediate... The New 52, for instance, after Flashpoint, launched with Justice League. This universe didn't launch with a superhero team, which is not a bad idea to introduce a bunch of characters all in one place and then kind of spread out and see which ones people take to. This wasn't the case this time around. Justice League came out quite a bit after.
Weirdly, Justice League of America carried on as normal. That was one of the books that carried on as normal. So they still recognized that the team were based in Detroit. They existed. Yes. There was a series, and then that didn't end until Legends happened. So that ended with Legends. Then they launched a new Justice League, and that was where they took all the new characters, and they, where we now had Shazam, Captain Marvel. I'm sorry, I never called him Shazam. That's the first time I've done it. They had Captain Marvel, Billy Batson. They had Blue Beetle from what they dubbed Earth 4 in Crisis, but they were from Charlton Comics. They mixed all these characters in together. It's like, this is happening. Captain Atom is now part of the DC universe going forward.
Yeah.
Accept it. Yeah. So it was like, and it's one universe.
That's it. It was exciting and also kind of confusing for people who loved whatever had come before. Yeah. For just the info dump of it all, the basic storyline of is that I'm going to read the back of the book of the 30-year anniversary. As their worlds are erased from existence one by one, can the heroes from different Earths band together to stop the destruction of all existence? It's going to take the combined powers of 2 Supermans, the Flash, a new Superboy, Supergirl, Alexander Luthor, and countless others, suddenly have a lisp, to fight the madness, and not all will survive. So it's in modern era, I think Jonathan Hickman attempted to do this with the Avengers, basically recreate this storyline with Earths converging and someone deciding which ones will continue to exist, and which ones will not exist. Yeah. But in this case, it's the Monitor and his counterpart, the Anti-Monitor. Mm-hmm. The order and chaos of the universe are colliding. And, I agree with you, what you said before. The first time I tried to get through this, I couldn't. I didn't see the hype. I didn't see
it is hyped, isn't it? Like,
it's very, very hyped. It's 2 creators at that time who were at the peak of their careers with the Teen Titans, right? It was the equivalent of Claremont and Byrne doing a major event. Like, this is the best of the best right now that we
Yeah.
have to offer, taking on this huge moment in comic book history. But when I read it the first time all the way through, I enjoyed it more. And then the second time I read it, I enjoyed it even more.
Yeah. Pretty
Strangely
much the
enough.
same. Yeah.
And like you said, the more you read the universe after this and kind of get acquainted with the characters and kind of know what it is that made them charming and made people attached to this post-Christ, like, people really think this is the DC universe
Yeah.
from 1985 on.
They do.
So, other than the Christopher Reeves era of Superman, which is based off of, the 45, 47, how many years was it? Maybe like 40 years or so of Superman existing, which there's a lot to pick from. It really was a perfect slice of that Superman Americana. This is, an amalgamation.
Yeah.
Almost like they almost made it like, this is Superman. We're going to take all the comics and this is what you get, this movie.
Yeah.
But with post-crisis Superman, now you've got all of these other things. Don't Superman's parents live? How come in the movie he doesn't have parents? Because John Byrne kept the parents alive instead of them having
I think they did die in the. But I mean, like, he's not even necessarily. It's an ongoing love triangle as well between Lois Lane and Lana Lang, and he works as a TV news presenter.
Exactly.
There's a lot that's not what you think.
There's that. Yeah, there's that famous scene in the at the end of Kill Bill Volume 2 where Bill is talking to the bride, and he's explaining, like, why Superman, when that's not true.
No, it's not. It's not true. I love that bit, and I thought it was a great observation, but it's not accurate.
That's pre-crisis Superman.
Yeah,
that's what he's talking about.
Yeah.
The post-crisis Superman sees himself as one of us. Him being Superman initially is an uncomfortable thing for him to do because he just wants to be a regular guy. Grew up on a farm. Like, he doesn't want to ever abuse what his gifts because of how he's been raised, and he still goes home to eat his mom's meals. Like, there's a different charm to that era of Clark Kent,
Yeah.
So for things like that, like, you can see why an event like this is so pivotal to know, like, well, that all happens because this event occurred.
Yes.
And we get that out of it.
And the thing as well is, while it does work as a universe reset, there are some elements that carry on through. And I don't just mean those titles that kept their continuity. I mean, like, you jump ahead quite a few years and you'll get to the Sinestro Corps War.
Yes.
There's some major players in that story that are from this, and Infinite Crisis, of course, and that,
I was going to mention that.
Era. But I haven't read that yet, so I don't.
You haven't read Infinite Crisis yet?
No, I have read the mini, but a long time ago. But I haven't done the whole read through yet.
The omnibus.
Yeah, well, let's do the reading order, which I will
at
some point.
And I'm happy you brought that up, because the events that occur throughout DC that follow are there's always some sort of piece that is connected back to this crisis.
Do you think?
There's
always?
Well, almost. I would say you've got the 0 Hour. Is almost like a crisis correction.
It is.
And then you've got Infinite Crisis, which as a sequel really adds so much to this story. Almost the way Winter Soldier kind of enhances First Avenger, Captain America First Avenger. It's like, I'm happy the sequel is so good because it makes certain parts of this story mean more. And I feel Infinite Crisis pays so much respect to what this story accomplishes, and it enhances those characters. So when you go back,
while still telling its own story in its own right.
Yes, and as you read it, going back to the first event, and you're like, I know where this ends up going. So this character is now more interesting to me.
Yeah, well,
right.
Another one of those examples of a tie-in that's really key is I can't think where it sits. It was an issue of DC Comics Presents, and it's the introduction of Superboy Prime.
That's huge.
It's huge. It's not in the main series.
Wow.
So it's there's a lot of stuff you can pick out, and actually, it's during that storyline as well. He's dealing with the loss of Supergirl. And even then, that carries on into a storyline in the main Superman series. So there's a couple of issues there. It's DC Comics Presents 87 and Superman 414 that sit between Crisis on Infinite Earth 7 and 8. They're quite important stories. One of them is weird.
Yeah.
One of them's particularly weird. It's got these aliens in that break into the Fortress of Solitude and they just dick about with the computers in there. We're going to dick about with your computers. Yeah. And then they leave. Like, what was the point? So there's some weird stuff. Kind of still got that kind of silvery Bronze Age vibe of oddness for the sake of oddness. But some of that stuff is like Superboy Prime. The team up. DC Comics Presents was Superman's team up book before they did the restart. You know,
yes.
So Batman had Brave and the Bold, and for his team ups, and Superman had DC Comics Presents. But there's a bunch of tie-ins from DC Comics Presents for this event. Some of them you can skip. Some of them you do need to read, really.
So there are elements within all of those companion hardbacks that you have that are like, this adds a lot to this. Like, you're missing out on some key information.
For some, one of the things I really like about DC's crossovers that's quite different to Marvel's, for the most part, is that they, even though you later on got books like Civil War, and we had Infinity Gauntlet as well, which had its own series, and you could just read that, or you could just read Civil War, you could just read House of M. You don't have to read everything else. I think DC tends to lean into that a bit more, so you can read the main series and then the issues of the titles that you're already reading, and then it will make sense as to why they're involved in it. But you don't have to read everything. Whereas you take Civil War, you can read the 7-issue mini, but let's be honest, if you're not also reading some of these tie-ins as well, it's not going to 100% make the most sense. Yeah.
That really stands out when they put these collections together, where it's like, here's the compendium or the omnibus of the event, and you're like, oh, that's why that scene is so important later. Like, thanks. Like, that's where he went when he gets snatched in this panel. Like,
all that kind of stuff.
That. All that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's true. I'm such a hack and such a professional that I didn't even mention who the creators are of this book.
We haven't talked about who worked on the book.
Yeah, so the people who worked on this book, it's very important to mention that and give them their just due. The main people are Marv Wolfman and George Perez, collaborators on the new Teen Titans for years, really made waves in DC on that title, bringing a certain Marvel element to DC with their soap opera kind of storytelling. It was the other company's version of what is essentially the X-Men. Not the same thing, but like their answer to it. Like you were either one or the other.
Team book.
Yeah, exactly. Some of the inkers on this, again,
main characters.
Exactly. Dick Giordano was an inker on this. Carl Kessel, Mike DiCarlo, and of course Jerry Ordway, who I think is the one of George Perez's best collaborators as far as when he's inked by Jerry Ordway. I think it's great.
Imagine being George Perez's inker.
No. It seems like
no, I'm not going to.
It seems honestly like one of the most difficult jobs as a comic book, just in general. If you're a very tedious, like a job that's going to really grind you down, Jerry, I just imagine George Perez. Me? You're laughing at me?
Yeah, a little bit.
Oh. Like, if you think about the workload that would be.
Yeah, but you probably, if you like that kind of thing, though, you're going to love it. If you're an inker and you like inking that kind of thing, you might well love it. But if you don't, that must be horrendous. But, I mean, you get some inkers, don't you, who they aren't detail guys.
No.
And you put them with an artist who's a detail guy, and you're looking at it going, I'm sorry, this is Arthur Adams? I didn't even realize this was an Arthur Adams book until I got to like page 8 and went, that's a very Arthur Adams. Like, this is Arthur. This doesn't work. Don't put Klaus Janson with Arthur Adams.
Yeah.
I'm not knocking his inking at all. Just doesn't suit that artist. And so I mean, there must be some people who love that level of detail just as much as Perez likes drawing it.
Yeah, I think, and that's why I think Ordway was like probably in my opinion, one of the best choices to work with George Perez, because his work in and of itself was quite detailed. His own pencils, right?
True.
So it is a moment where you kind of see these heavy hitters and legends putting everything they've got into this. Now, the first couple of issues of this book, it's really a lot of, it's not so narrative driven. It's just more like, here's the plot, here's what's happening, here's more characters, here's more characters,
here's some things dying.
Yeah, gone.
Yeah.
Oh, gone.
Yeah.
You know, you scared yet? Red sky's red. Another planet gone. Like, all your reads, like, what the hell?
Yeah.
This is an extinction level event. And then when you get to the point where they start breaking off into squads and teams and having, you know, things that they're trying to, there's a goal at hand.
Yeah.
Then you get into some real meat and potato moments of this story.
Potatoes.
The meat and potatoes of it. Yeah. And some major comic book moments.
Yeah, major. And they're very close together, some of the biggest ones.
Yes.
So it's almost like you're going, wow, that was a big one. Let's have a moment to breathe. Well, you did what?
Yeah. Yeah, it was quick. Very bold. Like, how are you going to... And they stayed that way for a long time.
Yeah.
Like, they didn't go back to, oh, we're bringing them back. Yeah, I fooled you. When they came back, it was kind of like, really? They're back?
And it was a long time.
Well-earned moments when they came back, I felt.
Yeah.
Which moment for you was your like, ooh, that's a big one. I feel this battle, this fight, this outcome, or there was a death. Which one was it?
It was, so far, bearing in mind I've still got 3 issues to reread, because I've got a feeling 10 is going to be a nice one for me, because I don't know much about the Spectre, and I really want to start reading Spectre stuff so I can understand the character, because he looks bizarre to me. He's just like, he looks like a pantomime villain. What are those little booties about? Why is he dressed in white and green? He looks like he's made of peppermint. I don't understand. But I'm desperate to see how that fight plays off against the Anti-Monitor, especially with the build-up of issue 9, and it ends with him screaming. And, you know, no one can hear. It cuts to the challenge of the unknown for no reason at all. Yeah, have you noticed there's a bit of a weird noise? And then it's like, it's the Spectre is screaming. Like, why did we bother with that bit with the challenges? It's just to put the challenges in. But so far, it has been the death of Supergirl that I like the most, because it's quite an intense issue. Like the way that it travels. I mean, when there's a lot of talking at the start of the interview. The start of the issue. There's a lot of, like, just in case you don't know, because this is monthly comics when they didn't really do collected editions. So there's a lot of recapping, and we're at issue 7, so we're halfway through. So it's a big load of recap, and then it's like, right, I've chosen who we want to go to fight the Anti-Monitor. It's you guys. You're the big hitters. Go fight him, and they do, and it's like Superman is bleeding. You know, that doesn't happen. And but it's, I don't know, for some reason for me, the Supergirl moment just won it for me. I liked it. I like it because it does seem like it's just intense stuff happening all the time. Like you say, it's almost like bam, it's like an MTV advert, you know, from the 80s. It's just, wow, what's happening here? There's so much going on. And then it gets to this fairly lengthy battle essentially against a building. They're fighting a building for the most part, and the building is wiping them out. It's wiping the floor with them. They haven't even got to the Anti-Monitor yet. And then so she makes the sacrifice, and I really like that moment. I wish we'd seen a little more of the fallout of it. Although I think just having the funeral at the end acknowledges, like, they've taken the time to acknowledge the death, because it's not necessarily an ongoing war. They think they've won.
Right.
So as far as the heroes are concerned, the crisis is over. So they take that time to acknowledge Supergirl's sacrifice, and they're completely unaware this shit isn't over yet. It's 5 issues to go. You got to read the front cover, my dudes.
Yeah, you're just over the halfway point of this major story, and a key character to the DC universe, especially I think at that time, its main character. I don't know if Batman had surpassed him in sales and popularity yet, but this was the character. These were the 2 characters that had movie franchises behind them, right? Superman and Supergirl.
When did Supergirl the film come out?
Mid-'80s, in between Superman 3 and Superman 4.
Was it?
I think. Yeah, so right around this time, like in and around 84, I would say. So she just had a movie out, and maybe because it bombed, they said,
84.
Let's kill her off. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Don't
but
know.
this was
Well, no, I know
this,
why they did it. It's because they wanted Superman to be the only Kryptonian.
yes,
So one of the
yes,
things that that story I mentioned just now, which is Superman 414, which is part of that kind of him dealing with Supergirl's death, that involves a whole load of Kryptonians from the bottle city of Kandor starting on a new world called New Krypton, which actually ends up being repeated in a grander
yes,
scale right towards the end of the DC universe before Flashpoint.
yes,
But what they wanted to do was take Superman and make him the sole survivor of Krypton. But if you have a Supergirl, a dog, and all these different,
yes.
he's not as special, which I get, and it makes a lot of sense. But I don't know. One of the reasons why Superman was so popular, I think, was that Superman family element from the silver and bronze age, which is really popular.
Yeah, there's a charm to it,
Yeah,
and I think especially with him, something as simple as him having a dog, it's like something to connect him to home. Maybe he's the only Kryptonian, but at least give him his dog from back home, right? They're just seeing that in the trailer was cool for the
it
new Superman
was.
movie that's supposed
Oh,
to come out,
oh, it was giddy.
right? So I've always been a fan of like the more characters of like Batman having a couple Robins, that's cool. Superman
Yeah,
having a cousin and a dog and whatever it is, like all those different things are fun.
yeah.
But it did after this, there was a special thing about Superman that you could keep up with, and he was learning about himself
Mm-hmm.
and where he was from along with you instead of I got to use my abilities to blow out a star. Like there wasn't anything Superman couldn't do at a point where it's just like
Yeah,
this isn't even fun
they did
to read.
depower him
Yeah,
after Crisis.
depowering him was a great move because
Yeah,
and it didn't make him the weakest guy. He was still Superman,
this
but
and
he
and
would
then became the Superman by default that we
exactly.
all know.
Yes. Yes. One of the I'm going to send a shout out to a podcast that I used to listen to
Mm.
every day at work. But the Comic Geek Speak podcast, well, I think
Oh
is the
yeah,
original comic book podcast.
right.
They had one of their co-hosts was a crisis specialist. Like he had written his university dissertation on crisis.
Whoa.
Yeah. And they did a 3-hour episode, him and another guy, just on cover number one, like issue one, the cover, and all the details and characters and everything that went into that, which is ridiculous.
That's
The
crazy.
reason I bring that up is to ask you, which is your favorite cover within these 12? Because there are a couple of incredibly drawn covers,
Mm.
and then some that are just iconic, like images that if you're a frequent comic book reader, going to a store, going to a convention, there's some covers here that you've seen
Yeah,
a lot.
yeah,
On that same level as Secret Wars #8
yeah, exactly.
or
Yeah,
Secret Wars 1, right? There's that iconic image. Which is it for you?
I was really, really tempted while you're saying that to say issue 8 with the Flash on the cover.
Right.
I really like that. It's really simple, but it looks dark and intense and foreboding. And you don't necessarily think you're going to get what you do get. Even though you've had a surely not moment in issue 7, it's a big deal. But my favourite one is issue 9 because
Issue
I
9.
love the villains. Oh, when I see like when George Perez did the cover for Infinity Gauntlet #4, and you've got all the superhero characters that are taking part in the battle against Thanos, running at you or flying at you. I love that. He does that really well, and that's what he's got here. He loves he loves putting these covers together that are so unnecessarily complicated
Yes.
and just riddled with faces, and you're going, "Who's that? Who's that?" And it's one of those things that makes you go, like, "I need to find out who is that character? What are
Yes.
they about? That design is weird. Like, what's that about?" So yeah, I like that kind of thing. It's very busy, but I want to know who they're running at, what they're up to, and then you've got Brainiac's skull ship head floating behind them. It's just, it's great.
And what's crazy is that on a cover, he could have done something with one figure, very iconic, to capture like a key moment in the book. Instead, he draws every villain he can possibly fit on a page, which is just nuts.
Yeah, completely nuts. Like you've already You're drawing a monthly title, sometimes with double page count, and you're going to throw every villain onto this cover? How have you got time, George, you lunatic? But it's what he loved to do.
Yeah, no, he was the best at it.
Do you have a favourite yourself?
I'm a big fan of issue number 1, just because, again, of all the details, and it looks like a crisis. Like, what the heck is happening to all of these?
It's a perfect
all of these guys.
Image,
it's a perfect opening. It makes you want to pick up this book. You've got an old Superman, some young heroes, the Teen Titan. Who's that guy over there? You know, the Harbinger plays a very, very key role in this storyline, which I don't know her history prior to this. Does it begin with Crisis?
No. What I'm gonna another little future plug. So I do a series of pieces on the site which are dedicated to what to read before an event, and I'm already, while I'm doing the Infinite Crisis reading order, I'm also working on the stuff that's going to be in the what to read before thing. So that will show you where what's she called? I've blanked on her name. Is it Layla?
Yeah, I think it's Lorelei.
Is it?
I think it might be. No, I might be wrong.
Lila?
I think it's Lila. Yeah, Layla. Layla. Yeah.
Oh, it is. So now I'm not going to break into some Clapton. Why? So yeah, she probably appeared. I think if I remember rightly from the quick kind of skimming I did beforehand to get a feel for it, I think you saw more of her when she was talking to the Monitor in the appearances before Crisis than you saw of the actual Monitor. So he was mostly just an arm and a hand, sat in a chair. So when the Monitor was was making these little appearances, he seemed to be a villain, and he was arming a lot of the villains to fight the heroes. So we're going like, so who's this Monitor guy that's like giving all these bad guys the means to kill the good guys? And
where was he featured in? What story? Like,
lots of random little stories. So I'm going to put an official list together, but some of those stories are like mini crossovers as well. So I'm going to cover those too. I think he first appeared in an issue of New Teen Titans, which makes perfect sense because it's also written by Marv Wolfman. I'm having a quick check.
Yeah,
because
it's okay.
I can't 100% remember. Can't see Monitor. Where's the Monitor? Hang on one sec. I just want to make sure I'm saying this right, because I can't see where it says Monitor at all. But yeah, he was kind of making little cameo appearances for years in DC books.
So he never had like an actual storyline. There wasn't anything about him that was settled.
He was seeded, basically. So by the time that sounded a little bit dodgy. Thank you, Omega Bread. He was seeded as a story element for a long time, but it sounded more like he was going to be a big new villain than what he actually ended up being. And it might well be that they hadn't even decided what he was going to be yet. It might not have been editorially decided that that's where they're going to restart the universe. I don't know. And maybe that's where something like that podcast might be a good place to check out that level of detail, because I'm sure that guy would know.
Yeah, for sure. Where do you put him, the Monitor, or the Anti-Monitor, I should say, in regards to like when they show up on the page, that level of, oh shit, that guy's here? Is he at kind of the top of the list? You know, when you kind of see Thanos thrown into, you're like, where are they going with this? Like, oh boy, this is extinction level, event level. Is he like Anti-Monitor's the Galactus of DC?
In a way, maybe he's more like he feels like a force of nature in that way, but he's just wiping. I don't know, to a degree. I think the one downside, and probably one of the reasons why I didn't get on with it as well on the first couple of reads, because it almost doesn't matter. But he's kind of a means to an end. It doesn't feel like he's some fleshed out character like Thanos,
right?
Because Thanos is a complicated character. That's what makes him so great. That's what makes him so interesting, is that he's not as straightforward as I'm just going to kill. I'm just going to kill everyone. And then by the time you get to Infinity War, he's actually one of the characters saving the universe.
Right.
Like, how complicated are your villains here? That's not a bad guy anymore. But the Anti-Monitor feels like a bit of a means to an end. So from an oh shit kind of perspective, he just seems like a relentless force of nature who is going to wipe out the positive matter universes. That's what he wants to do. So I mean, that's a massive deal. But I'm not going, oh, what a fascinating character. I mean, when he first appears, he looks, I don't want to say he looks a bit shit, but I mean, he is a bit of a mess compared to what they did a bit later on when he came back and he's all smoothed out. But it's a funny design. Like, it's a very strange design. I don't dislike it, but it's a bit weird. But he doesn't feel, I'm not going like, oh, what a great villain this is. What's his actual motivation? He just wants to wipe everything out, and that's fairly simple. And that was the point. It didn't need to be that complicated.
Yeah, because again, this story was a means to an end in a lot of ways. It was a showcase of all the characters and the artistic talent of George Perez in a lot of ways. And thankfully, the sequel really brings a lot of things out of this book that if it was just left untouched, it would be fine. But this gives it a little bit more gravitas. Infinite Crisis gives it a little extra,
right?
A little flavor to it.
Again.
It's excellent, especially if you read it the full omnibus and see all the moving parts. It's really, really cool. The cover where Supergirl dies.
Yes.
Who did it better, George Perez or John Byrne?
John Byrne.
Yeah, I think I asked you that before. In the chats, let us know what you guys think, because both are very iconic.
They are. I'm not keen on the way he drew Superman in that image, though, to be fair.
What was it about it that you didn't like? Just that
he looks. There's something that doesn't.
Too long, too lanky.
I don't know. There's something that's a bit odd about it, and I can't 100% explain it. It's just the weird shapes and the body and stuff. It just looks a bit strange, and like it doesn't feel like that is how you would hold someone. He's kind of holding her with his hand. It doesn't work as well for me as the X-Men one, but probably the X-Men one is ingrained on my brain for a lot longer than Crisis 7.
I should have looked up if there was any reason why he wanted to copy that, because they were contemporaries and they had collaborated together. So I'm sure it was a total sign of respect. But take that moment and to make it be one of those, like, it's like that cover, after Byrne. It's clearly after Byrne. Like, there's no question about it. To a degree,
but in a way it also isn't. It's that kind of pose for someone, there might well be another cover that precedes both of those that's done similar. It seems like how dramatic do you draw this? How dramatically can you draw this? Seeing the character stood there in full form, holding their body, limp, lifeless. That's the best shot. That's the way to do it. I think if you did it too close, you wouldn't get the full effect of it. So if you do it too far away, it's like not important enough. So I think it's the way to do it. But I mean, it's weirdly on the site I'm on, which is Comic Vine at the minute, just to look at the cover. It says the cover is homaged by Future Comics. It doesn't mention the X-Men reference there at all. So I mean, I don't know. You could argue that it wasn't, and it's just a pose. I don't know.
I think that's a tough argument to make, though.
Possibly.
When you put them side, because there's been a lot of deaths in comics, like even Death of Superman, where Lois is holding Superman by his head. Like, it's very, oh man, that's pretty powerful. Like,
yeah.
George Perez is of the talent where he could have done anything, and clearly he did it, I feel, out of a respect because of that moment. Key character dying. What's as iconic as this? But
yeah,
both hit it out of the park.
Yes, they do. They are both great covers, but yeah, for me, one edges out the other. Actually, I've just found out, dude, New Teen Titans 21 is the first appearance of the Monitor. So that goes back to
that would be like 81, 1981,
82.
Okay.
So yeah, wow. When I say it's like a long build up, it's a long build up. Yeah. We were talking about stuff in the chat as well. I wanted to try and address a couple of the questions before I forget. Just wanted to, but Marvel Man asked, I've been trying to find where Earth 1 starts on each comic, and it's really confusing. It is very confusing. I think it was probably decided retrospectively where the shift is, because sometimes some stories are like people go, that's a bit more of an Earth 2 thing, that's a bit more of a, So I am actually working on also a reading order for DC Universe 1955. So it'll be everything from 1955 in order, and that is the official considered to be officially the beginning of the Silver Age, and that will show you where the Silver Age begins, and that's where you can start.
Nice. You're crazy, but very nice. Who, which character do you think benefited the most from this event happening? Because a lot of characters are reimagined, redesigned, given a breath of fresh air. That, in the case of, for instance, Wally West, who takes over the mantle of the Flash because of this is the fate for those who are catching up or don't know really what happens in Crisis. One of the key moments that has been mimicked and recreated in plenty of TV shows and movies and cartoons is those moments of the Flash traveling through time, trying to get a message to Batman or to somebody.
Yes.
Ultimately, Barry Allen sacrificing himself as the Flash, and his mentee, his apprentice in Wally West takes over the mantle of the Flash once the dust is settled.
Yeah.
Completely different direction that the Flash goes, right?
Oh,
it's a new character. Yeah. Superman, completely different version. Wonder Woman, in a lot of ways, very different.
Yeah.
Batman's got a fresh coat of paint on. Who do you think benefits the most from this time?
I think you see the immediate benefit in Superman.
Yeah. It was the number one issue, best-selling issue that year. 1986 was Man of Steel #1.
Was it?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not surprised. And when I started working at a comic shop, a guy that worked there said, "You need to read up on some DC if you're going to work here." And I went, "Okay, where do I start?" And he went, "Man of Steel." I went, "Okay." So I hadn't read it until, what was that? 1995, about 95, 94. That's when I first read Man of Steel. And I liked it. I didn't love it. But I think reading it as a bit older and understanding the impact, I think you can see the effect that has. Otherwise, weirdly, I mean, like Batman, you don't necessarily feel it's finding its feet, in terms of continuity just yet. Because one of the first storylines that's supposed to be the start of New Earth continuity, they end up chucking it later, which was a two-parter with the Joker and Catwoman. That doesn't belong in either continuity because it just doesn't fit. So that's considered Earth 85 continuity.
Oh, easy. That's easy to keep up with.
Like what? So yeah, it's messy, and part of the reason why it's messy is because they didn't clean cut. They kind of went, I suppose we restart. Do we restart now? How about now? No, it wasn't that clean. Wonder Woman definitely benefited, but I suppose you could argue that she benefited from the creative team, like George Perez, by that point being a massive name and taking sole responsibility for that title. But I think the biggest benefit came from The Flash.
Yeah.
It made a much more interesting read, much more interesting title. A lot of people, even if they love Barry, they love Wally more. He's got a whole different approach. He's much more relatable. He is their everyman character. And the times when they write a Justice League story that includes The Flash, and they're trying to make, like in the modern era, and they're trying to make Barry Allen that everyman, it's not the same character. You can't shoehorn that. But that's what Wally was, and I think it really, really had an impact on that character massively.
Yeah,
in a good way.
Anyone who's listened to this show, I agree with you, by the way, completely. Anyone who's listened to this show for one episode knows that both of us, but specifically me, I'm a big Jeff Johns fan. The one thing I wish he didn't do is bring Barry Allen back. I don't mind him being in the New 52 and all that kind of stuff. That's cool. Francis Manapul's run and things that come later. I know people like it, but Wally West, for a lot of us, was the preferred Flash. He earned it. We grew with him. He was a character that he was kind of like a Spider-Man in a way for us.
Exactly.
In DC, where he was a regular guy just trying to make it through, the day-to-day grind. He had his Aunt Iris. His uncle was gone. It was a big inspiration to him in the way that he would continue. And then he gets married. All of these things that you grow with this character, you just like him more and more as he develops this. He really advances, like he surpasses Barry.
Yeah, he does.
And the writers do it. The art does it. The powers that they give him and how he is able to harness them. Like just the fact that through Wally West's stories, of course, Mark Waid is the writer behind it, but through this character, we get the Speed Force, which
Yes.
is like one of the ultimate Deus Ex Machinas for DC, right? The Speed Force, the Speed Force. You
Yeah,
gotta use the
that
Speed
explains
Force.
everything.
Explains everything. And it's through Wally West's stories. And then even Jeff Johns, he really cuts his teeth in this character. Like, he shows how much he loves the Flash. But I wish they would have kept Barry West around and found some other way to. And they just, the more they tried to correct it, like Tom King, I didn't even finish reading that series, but it's just like the butchering of the legacy of Wally West, where they made him almost villainous.
Funnily enough, that's being talked about a lot in the chat, and the effect of what they did to Wally and the injustice of it all. Yeah, it was not well received, and I don't quite understand how they mishandled it so badly. Because I think when Jeff Johns brought Wally West back in what was it called?
Rebirth,
yeah, DC
the
Universe
Rebirth one. That was beautiful. That was amazing.
Fantastic moment. And then it just got squandered. But then, of course, he was busy making the TV shows and stuff, so he wasn't kind of providing the steer that he used to provide and being as hands-on. So I kind of think like it was ended up being picked up by other people who didn't really know how best to handle it. And they got it very wrong.
Very wrong. And it's a very... I think a big misstep. I would say to anybody at DC, you guys really messed that up. A lot of the fans will never forgive you for that. Like, it's one of those marks on the record of DC that you ruined a perfectly good character that a lot of people loved, and you knew they loved them. Yeah. And you just butchered it in a way that was unnecessary. Like, he had such... You can see with even the reprints, the commitment that they have to the Wally West era Omnis and the
there's demand
Mark
for that.
Waid's run. Like, even the William Messner Loeb's, was it his run? Like, that's
they've
also
released
getting
one
reprinted.
so far, but yeah, they're doing it.
Yeah, like there's people who have a real attachment to this character all throughout, like his publishing from Post Crisis right to Flashpoint, or no, would it be Flashpoint? It would have been.
No, you're right. It was before Flash Rebirth.
Final Crisis. Yeah. After that, it was like it was a real shame, but that is definitely a title to invest in the post-crisis era. Flash really finds its stride. Pun intended.
Pun intended. Intend that pun, Mo Flipper. Actually, Omega Bread said Lila Michaels is Harbinger's real name.
That's
Thank
right.
you. He also says the Anti-Monitor isn't so much as a character than a Deus Ex Machina. The name and design is crap, though. It's a crap name, the Anti-Monitor. Like, what, he doesn't like the screen bits of his computer? Like, what?
Yeah, it's very much an easy way to this is the opposite of himself. This is his bad version. Yeah, it's so silly.
It's
anytime you try to put anti in front of stuff, it just sounds forced.
It does sound forced.
No matter what.
Apart from maybe Anti-Venom, which sort of makes, because you do get Anti-Venom. You know?
Yeah, like I want the Anti-Venom to save my life, but anything other anti is just like, you're annoying just for using it. Just for using anti something, you're annoying. Anything else that we should touch on, or any comments that people have been making that we can include in our chat for the Speakeasy as we wrap up?
Oh, that's funny. Scrubs said that. Oh shit! It just jumped. Wally was the great outcome from Crisis, and then DC went and screwed him over massively. Which, harsh, but there's so many. There's like a couple of decades there of great stories with him anyway. So at least we've got the good times.
I mean, you've got up to, I think Jeff Johns' run goes into the 200s of the Flash run, so you got plenty of Flash to read.
Yeah, tons,
and tons of really strong stories. Like, check it out. Invest in those Mark Waid Omnis. I know, I read it too, and the Jeff Johns stuff too. I mean, that's up for debate. Who handled Wally better? Seeing as Jeff Johns brought back Barry, he really wrote a great era of Wally West.
Well, I remember it being in Wizard as one of the top 10 must-read titles every month.
It was. it's worth it.
Yeah.
For sure.
I
It gets
haven't
better.
read the Jeff Johns run yet.
I haven't read all of the Mark Waid stuff. I want to, but I feel like it's a commitment because there's a
It's a
lot.
commitment.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's quite a bit, but I think it'll be
I
worth it.
think it's 3 Omnis worth,
Yeah, for sure. Eight
if not more.
big, eight big chunky collections.
Oh, maybe it's more then. Maybe it'd be 4.
Could
Don't know.
be. Could be. Yeah, very well. Um, anything else we're leaving out before we wrap up?
On Crisis, no, I mean, I don't think so. I think we've covered it. Are there any questions about Crisis anyone wants to discuss? You can drop them in before we finish up the show. I think, yeah, just look out for the reading order. I was hoping to have it done this month. It might not be till next month, but it's the 40th anniversary of Crisis on Infinite Earths this year. So I thought it seemed like a perfect time to cover the event. Plus, well, like Eric said, we talked about Crisis so much, but we often don't explain it because it's so big to explain. So at least now we can kind of link through to this episode too and talk about why it's important, why it exists. While we are waiting for any potential questions, shall I do a new ode to the Omniverse?
Yeah, let's do an ode to the Omniverse.
Okay. Let's take a little quick look-see at what's old to the Omniverse. So I've clicked off to look at my Crisis notes, and I don't have my podcast notes. Give me 1 second. Professional. At number 5, it's the Authority Reading Order 1999 to 2011. Number 4, the comics that inspired the MCU, which I completely forgot was a post on the site. I need to update that. It's probably 3 years out of date. Number 3, Secret Wars 1984 to 85, the original event. Number 2, Ultimate Spider-Man Reading Order, which is normally our reliable number 1. And that covers the original Peter Parker era. And at number 1 this month, the most popular reading order is Invincible, 2002 to 2018. People are loving the Invincibles.
Oh, yeah. I got to finish the recent series that they released for it. BC Scrubs has not a question, but he says, do yourself a favor and never watch the 3-part Crisis animated DC movies. They are so bad and boring they hurt. Also, too hard to animate as many characters as George drew, so it never feels as epic. I was going to say, pardon?
Who's the villain in it? Because I came close to getting them, but the bad guy floating in the background doesn't look like the model. It looks like it's a big alien.
Yeah, I haven't watched them. I was tempted to give it a try because, again, I'm a fan of this entire premise, this Crisis thing of DC that they do. But no, Omega Bread, I have not read the Crisis novelization. I know Marv Wolfman wrote it, and he said that either in the novel or within the main series, but I think it was within the novel, he put a back door or a way to bring Barry Allen back.
Did he?
Because he goes, if you read that, you'll know what I mean. He goes, I'm not going to give it away, but yeah, and it might have some content in there that gives us some context to how they found a way to bring Barry back. Anyways, I was going to say, in accordance with BC Scrub's comment, there's been so many ways where they've tried to include Crisis in like the movies, the multimedia, because it's the multiverse, right? So the movies are part of the multiverse, and this is the best way to read it. Read it in the comics.
It's like with Spider-Verse. Do you know what? The film was great. The first film, at least, haven't seen the second one still, but about to this weekend.
It's great.
But the proper Spider-Verse with tons and tons of Spider-Men could not work in TV, whether it's animated or in film or anything like that. Just couldn't work. It's the only place you can do it is comics.
Yeah,
That's why comics are superior.
Yeah, I agree with you. I love the Spider-Verse movies. They're really, really cool. Great attempt at making that work, adapting it, but nothing's going to be better than the comic book version. With Crisis especially, George Perez is the only person who can properly tell that story.
Can you imagine anyone else drawing it?
Animated, television-wise, it's just not going to work.
You're right.
Sorry.
And in answer to my question earlier, which was who's the villain in the animated version, BC Scrubs said it's Anita Monitor. So that must be the Monitor's sister.
Right. You know, they had to even change the
Oh wait,
monitor to
he's
it.
sorry. It's anti-monitor. It was sorry, Scrubs.
All the character changes that they do. They even made it a Nita monitor.
Oh, it's just getting out of hand now.
Oh man, that's hilarious. Well, as always, I love these Speakeasy episodes. They're fun. They're fun to prep for, even though we just kind of go off the fly. It's nothing really like, it's not a dissertation. This isn't a TED Talk. This is just two friends talking off the top of their head
And having a
about
few drinks.
and having a few drinks. So we apologize to Marv Wolfman and George Perez, rest in peace, for not off the top mentioning that you're the creators of this, but
Yes.
all credit goes to those two gentlemen for this very, very epic, dense undertaking of comic book storytelling that I think is probably for better or worse, one of those events that made people go, maybe a summertime event is in order.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, sometimes it's nice and sometimes it's not so great, but this was one of those things that left an indelible mark in comic book publishing for sure.
Indeed.
Nothing was the same after this.
Undeniably.
Yeah.
So I've just noticed there is still chat going on. We're not going to address it now, but if you do want to join a continued conversation, hop on to our Discord where we're constantly talking about all this geeky shiz, and no doubt this will carry on there.
Absolutely. Yes. It's always fun in the Discord.
Yeah.
Everybody that's watched with us on Twitch, thank you for joining us. We appreciate that. Hit that subscribe button. If you're watching on YouTube, do the same thing. Thumbs up, subscribe. You might be number 900.
Ooh.
And don't forget to visit omniversecomics.guide, where you'll find everything related to the show, the podcast, collector item specials, reading orders. For those of you who are going to go out and buy some of these books that we talk about, check out the reading orders that Dave has made. Second to none. And we intend that pun. Yay! Dave, always a pleasure. Should we say what we're going to do next week?
No.
Ooh, keep it suspenseful.
Yeah, keep it real.
It'll be fun. It'll be a good one. It'll be amazing.
It will be amazing. Oh,
Yeah.
sauce.
All right, everybody. Till next week.
Peace out.
Till next time. Thumbs up. Peace out.
Thank you so much. We'll see you all spoon.
Bye, everybody.